Hello students, welcome back to my session. I am Mala, biology faculty. Today I am going to discuss the Living World chapter, that is Unit 1, Chapter 1 of Grade 11 NCERT Biology. Okay, let's move on to the topic. Okay, first let's know what are the characteristics of living organism. Okay, certain characteristics of living organism are they which differentiate from living to non-living things. So first character of living organism is growth, second is reproduction, third is metabolism, fourth is cellular organization, and fifth is consciousness. All these are the characteristics of living organism which differentiate or differences the living organism to non-living organism. Let us study one by one. First, we'll move on with the growth. Okay, first see what this growth mean. Is increase in mass and number, okay, which leads to the growth, and it is an internal process which takes place inside the body by dividing the cell, that is cell division. And the plant's division occurs continuously till their death. Okay, the plant will keep on dividing till their death. It is a continuous process, but in animals it is up to a certain age. That point you need to remember. Coming to the division, okay, division also enables to replace the lost cells. Whatever the cells which are lost will be replaced by the cell division, which enables to replace the lost cells. And unicellular means the cell which consisting of only one cell, okay, have the capability to divide in increase in number. And growth increases in the body mass also. Increase in number, increase in mass leads to growth. Non-living also will show the growth by accumulation of material on the surface. For example, if you take a mountain, boulders, sand mounds, all these will also show the growth, okay, which is nothing but the accumulation of material on the surface. And growth cannot be a defining property because some of the non-living also will show some growth. So it is not considered as a defining property of living organism. Condition when it is observed in living organism, when explained, are the characteristics of living. Okay, it is a characteristic of living, but it is not the defining property. Since even the non-living also will show the growth, like mountains, sand mounds, boulders. Okay. Yes. We'll move on to the next cat. That is reproduction. Okay. Let us study about the reproduction. Organism reproduce to produce the progeny. Here the reproduction is very essential process because reproduction is very essential to continue the species. Okay, for the continuity of the species, reproduction plays an important role. Organism reproduce the offspring of progeny similar to them. Okay, based on reproduction is of two types. Okay, one is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Unicellular organism like amoeba, bacteria, chlamydomonas multiply and increases in number, and it is defined as growth. All these unicellular organisms will undergo reproduction to produce the offspring which is similar to them. So it is unclear with the usage of the two terms, that is growth and reproduction, that is in unicellular. Okay, in unicellular both terms look similar, right? Growth and reproduction. So it is an unclear usage of these two terms, especially for unicellular organisms, organisms consisting of only one cell. Many organisms do not reproduce, like mules, sterile worker bee, infertile human couples. All these will not reproduce. Okay, so even is reproduction is not a defining characteristic of living organism. When we can say it is a defining properties, when all the organism undergoes this property, then we can say it is a defining property. Some exceptions are there, so we cannot consider reproduction as a defining property. So non-living will not produce. Okay, this is the main difference or differentiate from living to non-living. You can see the diagram here. A represent unicellular organism. You can see amoeba reproduction, hydra. Okay, and then sweet potato by vegetative propagation. All these are the example of asexual reproduction. Human. Okay, here the father has two and okay, that is diploid number of chromosome. Mother has 2n. There is diploid number of chromosome. Okay, fertilization. Okay, 2n is formed in the children. or offspring. So this is the diagrammatic representation to show the asexual and sexual reproduction. Hence, some exceptions are there. So reproduction is not a defining property of living organism. Next, we'll move on to the metabolism. Okay, let us study about the metabolism. Here, all organisms are made up of chemicals. Do you agree with that? Yes, whether it is a small organism or a big organism, all organisms are made up of chemicals, like biochemicals, biomolecules, which are made and changed to another molecule. Okay, conversion. Okay, from one form to the another, right? The biomolecule, carbohydrate to starch, okay, protein to amino acid, all these are the interchangeable, right, which are made and changed to other molecule. Yeah, the conversion of the conversion reaction of these molecules are metabolic reaction. Okay, the reaction is changing, right, between the molecules. So such type of convection reaction we call it as metabolic reactions. Some total of all chemical reactions, okay, total all the chemical reaction which is happening, okay, together it is called as metabolism. Okay, non-living will not show metabolism. Do you see the sand is showing the metabolism? Okay, or any mountain is showing the metabolism? No, right? Yes, non-living thing will not show the metabolism. Metabolic reaction, it is demonstrated outside the body in cell-free system, that is test tube in vitro, is neither living nor non-living. Yeah, metabolism is a defining feature of living things, and yet cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of living form. It is seen only in the living organism. It cannot be seen in the non-living things, right? So it is referred as a defining property of living things. Example, if you take photosynthesis, that is anabolic process. Cellular respiration, catabolic process. Okay, these are the examples. Okay, where this seen in only living organism and not in the non-living. So we will consider cellular organization of the body as a defining property of life form. So you can see the diagrammatic representation here. So photosynthesis, that is carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Here the simple compound combined to form the other complex, right? That is glucose molecule plus oxygen. So it is a anabolic reaction. And in aerobic respiration, okay, here the product is breaking into simpler substance, complex is breaking into simpler. So it is a catabolic reaction. These two are the examples to tell that metabolism is a defining feature of living organism and it is not seen in the non-living things. Next is about the conscious. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the consciousness. Okay, is seen in the living organism. When we touch the object or surrounding or environment, it responds to that particular changes. Okay, particular stimuli, whether it may be a physical, chemical, or biological sense towards the environment or towards this external stimuli is nothing but consciousness. Yeah, organisms sense through the sense organs. Living organism have the sense organ like animals. Plants, they have sense organs which will sense the things, right? Plants also sense, okay, like light, water, temperature, organism, pollutant, it reacts, okay, it reacts to the change in the environment. And photoperiod means the light period influences the reproduction, that is season, especially for the seasonal breeders, that is plants and animals. And human aware of himself, okay, self-consciousness is the main or peculiar character of a human being, which is not seen in any other. Okay, self-conscious is aware of himself, it's usually seen in the human. So the consciousness is referred as a defining property of living organism. If you touch a touch me not plant, or when you touch a hot object or cold object, you will show completely organism shows the response, right? Either it is a plant or animal. So consciousness is a defining property of living organism. Next, we'll move on to the diversity of living world. Okay, certain concepts we are going to study in today's session. Okay. Diversity of living world, we are going to study certain terms, okay, biodiversity, term used for, okay, the number of varieties of plants and animal present in a particular region on earth is nothing but biodiversity. Okay, here the number of species known is 1.7 to 1.8 billion. Please make note, it is very important where you need to remember for the exam point of view. And why we need to classify the organism? All organisms are there. Why we need to classify it? Organism are classified into categories here based on the name, remembered, studied, and understood. Okay, so here it needs to be standardized naming an organism, so the same name will be there all over the world. Okay, we call some other name, the other will call the another name. It will create a confusion. So to give a standardized name to the organism, we are going to give a name. The naming of an organism is nothing but nomenclature. Okay, scientific name we are going to give for the organism. Okay, which can be used all over the world. The nomenclature, which is the scientific name to all known organisms and plants based on the principle, based on the criteria of ICBN. Okay, expansion of ICBN you can expect in the exam. So it is an international code for botanical nomenclature. Okay, so the principle based on criteria of this, okay, the plants are classified or given the scientific name. Animal based on ICZN, okay, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, and scientific name ensure that each organism has only one name. Okay, it is called by the all over the world. Next, binomial nomenclature. Okay, as we know that it is a naming. Okay, naming of an organism was first used by Carolus. Yes, important point where you need to remember in exam you can expect who introduced the term binomial nomenclature. So you need to tell that it is Carolus Linnaeus. He published a book also called Systema Naturae, and it is also very important point. The scientific name of an organism using two word, okay, that is bi means two word, okay, giving the name for an organism is nothing but binomial nomenclature. Each name has two components. As binomial, bi represents two, it is a two component. One is generic name and another is okay, the scientific name of using two words. Okay, one is generic name, second one is species name or specific epithet. Okay, when we are naming an organism, certain rules are there. Okay, we need to follow. What is the first rule? Biological names are generally Latin, and when we have written, it should be in italics. Okay, this is the first rule of naming an organism. One is biological names should be in a Latin, and if it is in a written form, it should be in a italics. First word, that is genus. The second word is the specific species name. First, always we should write the genus species name. That is the rule number 2. Rule number 3 is both the biological name should be underlined separately. We should write separately and should underline separately. When we have written, when handwritten, okay, we are underlining when we are writing handwritten, and if it is a printed, we will do that in italics. This is a rule number 3. And next rule number 4 is first word denoting genus start with capital letter and a specific species name should be written with a small letter. Okay, but the genus name should be first and the species name is the second, and it should be underlined separately. And it should be, if it is a printed, it should be in an italics, and the genus name should be written with capital first letter, and the species first letter should be written with a small letter. All these are the rules which we need to follow when we are naming or when we are writing the organism name. Okay, next we'll move on to the taxonomy. What does this taxonomy mean? Okay, let us study. Taxonomy is nothing but the process of classification. Okay, we are going to classify based on the characteristic of living organism. Okay, we are naming, classifying based on the character, right? That is nothing but taxonomy. Here the external and internal structure, cell structure, development, ecological information, basis of modern taxonomy. Here human being is interested to know different organism and diversity along with their relationship with other systematic. Why we need to know, why we need to name? Okay, to avoid confusion, to get better clarity, to work on the species or an organism, we need clarity, and whole over the word it should be a common name. Okay, for that reason naming, classifying is very important. So when we speak about human being is interested because relationship should be known, right, between the organism to organism. So what is this systematic name? It deals with the classification of organism based on the diversity and relationship among them. Okay, this is the systematic. Coming to the taxonomic hierarchy, it is an arrangement of various taxa or classes. We are arranging various taxa, okay, in a order way. Okay, that is nothing but taxonomic hierarchy. And taxonomic study of all known organisms will lead to the development of categories such as we should consider when we are naming or when we are giving the classification. It should include kingdom, phylum. Okay, phylum for animals, division for plants, class, order, family, genus, and species. This is the hierarchy. Okay, we are going to arrange in a taxa of classification. So, least species, highest kingdom. Okay. Species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, phylum for animals we use, and division for plants we use, and then kingdom. This is the hierarchy we need to follow when we are classifying the organism. Next, we move on to the species. Let us see what are the individual things. Okay, what is the species? What is genus? Let us study in detail so that it will help to know the concept in a better way. So now we'll move on to the species. Least is the species of individual having a fundamental similarities. Okay, fundamental similarity and successful reproduction takes place among themselves. Okay, then we consider that as species. Here the morphological difference is there between two closely related species. Okay, morphological difference between the two closely related species. Example: Panthera tigris, Panthera leo, Solanum tuberosum, Solanum nigrum. All these are the example. You can see Panthera here. Okay, genus is same, but species is different here. Okay, Solanum family also tuberosum. Nigrum is different species, but the genus will be same. That is Solanum. Okay, you can see the diagrammatic representation here. Panther and Solanum is the generic name. Next higher level of taxon. Okay, compared to species, higher level of taxon is genus. And genus may have more than one specific epithet, represent different organisms. You can see Solanum, Panthera. You can have, but the species will differ. Okay, to organism to organism. Okay, next we'll move on to the genus. Okay. Genus are the aggregates of closely related species compared to species. Okay, it is aggregate of closely related, and compared to species, it is an higher taxon. Okay, group of related species with more characters in common with species of other genera is genus. Example is Panthera leo, Panthera pardus, Panthera tigris. Your animal comes under the same genus, Panthera, but shares the common features and differs from the genus. Okay, that is this. So potato, Solanum tuberosum, brinjal, Solanum melogena. Okay, here the genus will be same, but the species will be different, and it is a group of related species having the more character in common than the species of other genera. Okay, you can see the diagrammatic representation here: lion, tiger. Okay. Next is family. They are going to study about the family. It has a group of related genera. Higher than the genera is family with less of similarities. Characterized on the basis of vegetative and reproductive feature. Okay, based on what? Vegetative and reproductive feature. Example is family Solanaceae, includes Solanum, Petunia, and Datura. Here the family Felidae includes genera Panthera, that is lion, tiger, leopard, and Felis, that is cat. The family belongs to Felidae, but includes Panthera and Felis, right? So this is related genera with less number of similarities. Next is order. Assemblage of family which exhibit few similar character is order. A similar character will be less in number. Okay, less in number. Plant family, CA, Solanaceae, order Polymonials. Okay, animals family, that is Felidae, Canidae, will belong to the order Carnivora. Okay, here what we see as a family which exhibit the few similarities of characters. Let's move on to the class. Includes all the related orders having a few similar characters. Example class Mammalia includes order Primata, that is monkey, gorilla, gibbon, and carnivora. So here very few similar characters will be there. And class Dicotyledonine includes order Polymonials and Sapindales, that is mango. Okay, if you see here all the related orders with few similar characters is class. Next is phylum or division. It includes classes with very few similarity, very few similarity. Phylum Chordata includes classes fish, reptilia, Aeus, and Mammalia due to common feature presence of notochord and dorsal holoneural system. Okay, so based on this nerve cord, okay, Mammalia is classified. Okay, which is nothing but vertebrate. They have vertebrate. Okay, so which includes different classes. Okay. And division, if you say angiospermae includes class dicotyledonate and monocotyledonate. So this include classes with very few similarities. Next is the kingdom. Highest taxonomy is the category of taxonomy species. Here the animal is kingdom Animalia, Plantae, kingdom Plantae. Okay, so this is the highest of taxonomy. Next, we'll move on to the taxonomic aid. A taxonomic study of various species of plants, animals, and other organisms, no bioresources and diversity. Here, the study required correct classification and identification, collection of actual specimen of plant and animal. When we find any animal or plant, we need to correctly identify that, classify that, okay, so that it will be better for further studies. For the studies. So here, what happened? Fundamental to studies and essential for training in systematic. Specimens are gathered, stored, preserved with information for future studies. As I told you, when we are gathering, we need to classify and identify carefully for the further studies. Taxonomical aids includes herbarium, botanical garden, museum, zoological park. All these are the taxonomical aids. Study one by one. Okay, first we'll move on with the herbarium. Herbarium is a storehouse of collected plant species. Okay, here we are going to collect only the plant species by drying, collecting it, drying it, pressing, and preserving on the sheet. Specimens described on the herbarium sheet, label of date. Okay, when we have collected, from which place we have collected. Okay, and local and botanical name, family name, who collected that species, whether you collected or your friend collected. All these descriptions required for the herbarium sheet. Quick reference system for taxonomic studies. Okay, it is a collection of plant specimen by drying it, pressing it, and preserving on the sheet. And all these necessary things should be there: date, place, uncommon name, scientific name, collector name, who collected it. Okay, it is required for the taxonomical study, so it comes under taxonomical aid. Next is the botanical garden. Here, specialized garden having a collection of living specimen. Okay, we are keeping a living specimen in the botanical garden. Plants grown for identification purpose. Okay, for identifying the purpose, it is grown over there. And plant is labeled with botanical and scientific name and family. You can see all this information in the botanical garden where you find the plant. Okay, plant will be labeled with botanical and scientific name, and along with the family. Next is museum. Museum have collection of preserved plant and animal specimens, study and reference purpose. So both the plant and animal specimens will be preserved in the museum, and it is very essential for this educational purpose. Okay, set up in educational institute also, and specimen preserved in container or jars here. Okay, with using the preservative solutions. Okay, here plant and animal are dry specimen. Insects are collected in the boxes by collecting, killing, and pinning it, and large animals are stuffed and preserved in the container or jars. Skeletons of animals also collected. Okay, it is set up in an educational institution for the study purpose. Okay, so all these herbarium, botanical garden, museum comes under taxonomical gates. Next is about the zoological park. A zoological park are the places where wild animals are kept in protected under the human care. Okay, you by keeping the care of humans, we are protecting the wild animals in the zoological park. Learn the food habits. What are the food habits? Whether it will eat the plant products, the animal products. What is the behavior? Okay, so if it is a person who takes care how it behaves. If it is in a stranger, okay, or visitors, how it behaves. Behavior and food habits can be learned by keeping the wild animals in the zoological park. It is for the educational purpose. And conditions are provided as animal natural habitat. Next is the term key. Okay, we should know the term key, very important. It is another taxonomical aid used for identification of plants and animals based on the similarities and dissimilarities. Based on the contrasting character, okay, generally in pair, it is couplet. Pair, right? So it is couplet. Represents the choice between two opposite options. That is contrasting, right? Two opposite options, accepting one and rejecting the another. Okay, two will be there, one will be accepted, and with another will be rejected. Each statement is lead. Separate taxonomical key. Each taxonomical category like family, genus, species, identity is used for the identifier person. Analytical in nature. Okay, is completely based on analyzing. Next, we'll move on with the taxonomic key. Taxonomic key is a device that biologists use to figure out what unknown organisms actually are. Okay, the key is made up so that your answer a series of questions about the characteristic and answer is narrowed down. Okay, we are figuring it, right? Unknown organism. Okay, whether they have skin or dry or wet, whether they have air or not, whether they are bipedal, whether they have opposable thumbs. Okay, we are tracking with one similarity or dissimilarity so that we can group that particular organism, unknown organism, to a particular group. Okay, that is how the classification is done. Okay, based on the similarity, dissimilarity, the organism is put into one category. So taxonomic key is very important device for the biologist to figure out the unknown organism which they actually are. Okay, so that is what about taxonomic here. Okay, that's all for today. We have covered all the concepts, quick revision of the particular chapter. And in next session, we'll come up with some questions related to this chapter. See you all. Until then, bye. Take care, everyone.